slowed to a whisper, just the occasional drop falling from a high leaf, and Barnaby stirred gently on his branch, his small eyes opening to a world washed completely clean. The air was different now, lighter, fresher, as if the rain had taken all the heaviness and washed it down to the forest floor. Everything glistened in the moonlight, every leaf, every branch, every tiny droplet clinging to the forest like scattered stars. The canopy was still and quiet, the air fresh and cool, and full of the smell of wet earth. The world had been polished by the rain, every surface reflecting the silver light with a clarity that took Barnaby's breath away. Barnaby looked down through the open branches and saw something beautiful. Small pools of water gathered on the forest floor, each one perfectly still, each one holding the moon. They were scattered between the roots and moss-like pieces of a broken mirror, reflecting the night sky back at itself in 100 different pieces. He moved slowly toward the edge of his branch, peering down at the puddles below. They were like mirrors made of pure silver, each one reflecting the night sky with perfect clarity and stillness. The water was so calm that the reflection looked more real than the actual sky, as if the puddles were windows into a second world beneath the forest floor. The moon sat in the center of every puddle, a round glowing disk resting on still water, surrounded by tiny reflected stars, as if the sky had fallen gently to the forest floor and shattered into pieces of light. Each puddle held its own complete universe, a miniature night sky contained in a thin layer of rainwater. 100 skies lying on the ground for Barnaby to see. Barnaby watched without moving. The puddles did not ripple. The moon did not waver. It was the most peaceful thing he had ever seen. Stillness made visible. He could see his own reflection in the largest puddle, a small dark shape against the moon, a sloth-shaped shadow floating on silver water. He was part of the reflection now, part of the quiet picture. There were so many puddles, each one holding its own moon, some large and round, some small and shallow. But every single one carried the same soft silver light. The moons varied in size and brightness. The deeper puddles held darker, more defined moons. The shallow ones had softer, blurrier reflections. But every moon was beautiful in its own way. The puddles stretched across the forest floor like a scattered mirror garden, connecting in places, separating in others. A mosaic of moonlight on dark, wet earth between the roots and moss. Barnaby could see how the puddles were connected by thin threads of water, tiny channels linking one moon to the next, a network of silver across the forest floor. Barnaby felt his breathing slow even more. The sight was so quiet, so perfectly still. It made his whole body feel heavy and calm and wonderfully tired, the weight of peace pressing gently on him. Each moon in each puddle was a reminder that stillness was possible, that water could hold the sky without moving, that even the smallest pool could contain the entire universe. He rested his chin on the branch, his eyes still fixed on the puddles below. The water was so still it looked like polished glass, not a single ripple disturbing the reflected sky. The leaves around the puddles had stopped dripping. The air had stopped moving. The whole world had paused to admire the reflection of itself in the rainwater. A leaf floated on one of the puddles, resting perfectly on the surface. The moon reflected on the leaf, just as it reflected on the water. A moon on a leaf on a moon. Layers of reflection. The leaf had become a tiny boat carrying a miniature moon across a sea of silver. A small, quiet adventure happening in the smallest corner of the forest floor. Barnaby's eyelids began to close. The stillness of the water was inside him now, his thoughts becoming as calm as those puddles, his mind as smooth as silver, the reflection of peace. The puddles had shown him something important, that the most beautiful thing in the world was not movement or excitement, but perfect stillness, the ability to hold the moon without trembling. Barnaby fell asleep with the moon puddles in his dreams. His small body relaxed completely on the rain-washed branch, his breathing as still as the water below. The moonlight caught the edges of his fur, making him look like he was wrapped in silver. A sloth-shaped puddle on a branch, reflecting the moon in his own quiet way. The puddles held their moons faithfully through the night, each one a tiny window to the sky, glowing softly in the dark forest, undisturbed and serene. Silver sentinels of peace. They would hold their reflections until morning, until the sun rose and changed the silver to gold. But for now, they were perfect and still and full of moonlight. Barnaby slept, wrapped in moonlight and stillness, his dreams as quiet as the puddles, as gentle as the reflected stars, floating on silver water in the deepest, most tranquil sleep, the forest holding its breath around him, the puddles keeping their silent vigil, each moon in each puddle a small prayer for peace, and Barnaby the sleepiest answer to that